How to make a face shield.
Hi, it's Dr. Lily here with my Pocket Pediatrician. Now, I am working on another video about homemade personal protective equipment in general because there is a lot of risk in making gear for people at home. And personal protective equipment is not as simple as just tying a bandana around your face or making a cotton mask to cover your face. It's not so much about how things look, but about how they perform. So there are so many people with really big hearts who are making tons and tons of materials for healthcare workers and for people affected by the COVID virus. I myself worked for about 8 days trying to make a better designed mask that would actually create a seal around the face. So you can check out my tutorial on that. But I am in no way recommending any of this. As a pediatrician, I am no expert in personal protective equipment. I've worn it, I have never designed it, I don't have a degree in it. There are people who have PhDs in making personal protective gear for healthcare workers. Those are the people who design this equipment. It's made in factories from OSHA compliant materials, and it's really not something that I came up with in my kitchen or in my sewing room. So the mask idea was very complicated, and I am not 100% sure it's gonna work. I really have no way of testing it or knowing. I think it's better than what some of the other stuff is that's being made, but I can't say that for sure. In sharing my ideas with you guys, these are just ideas. This is not medical advice. I'm not saying this is gonna protect you. I'm not saying this is better than nothing because I don't know. Maybe you're better off with nothing. Who knows? You have to use your own judgment there. But there are people begging for people to make materials, and so I tried to come up with a slightly better design. So what I made here is a face shield. The reason I chose to make a face shield is because so many people are making masks, and these masks are fabric, and that basically can act as a sponge and just kind of soak in all those germs. So we need something to block those droplets from the patients from the healthcare worker's face. So hopefully I would have a mask and goggles on underneath this, but this is just gonna add one layer of protection. This one I actually made out of a shower curtain, but I found some other materials. So if you have money and the ability to buy whatever you want, this is the product I would buy. I think this is superior. It's a very strong vinyl. There's a sample of it. It's very thick. I can't tear it. I can't really bend it. And it's super clear. I can see everything perfectly through this. And if I use this one, the cost per mask for the vinyl itself is about $1.25 per mask. Now if I use this one, it's more in line with a heavy duty shower curtain. I still need to put some edging around it to protect the sides. And the cost per mask is about 75 cents per mask in the vinyl. But it's clear, it's strong, and I think it is a very good option. Since we're in a time of social distancing and some mandatory closures, we don't all have access to craft stores or hardware stores. So this is another option. This is a shower curtain. That's what this one is made out of. It's still pretty strong. It's still pretty clear. It is a tiny bit cloudier because obviously shower curtains are designed to give you a little bit of privacy. So I can still see well. I can read the words on this iron here, but it's not as crystal clear as the super clear vinyl is over here. So if you're interested in making these face shields, all you really need are one source of vinyl. If you're not using this yellow one and you either are using the blue one or a shower curtain, you're going to need some electrical tape and an iron. And then you also need a piece of craft foam and a headband. I got these at the dollar store. There were a lot of color options, as you can see. Sometimes they came in a 3-pack, sometimes they come in a 2-pack. Sometimes they have unicorns and rainbows on them. It doesn't really matter. The function is what's important. So I was able to buy all these, and I'm going to turn them into our headband. Now if you want to use the yellow super clear, this is one that I made out of that, and I did not have to put the edging around, which was nice. And as you can see, very clear, very comfortable. I can see all the way across the room. I can read the calendar on the wall over there, no problem. I would say this is definitely a superior material, but like I said, we're not supposed to be going out to stores, so you may need to work with what you can get. So this design is very simple, it's easy, and hopefully it's going to be useful. As you're watching this video, take some notes, let me know what you think. If you see anything that can be improved on, put it in the comments, and make sure you subscribe so if I change anything or there are any updates, you'll get a notification as well. One more thing before we get started, I'm home alone with 4 kids, 7 and under. My husband's at church right now doing the camera work so we can have online services. So that means I have a lot of noise in the background. I keep trying to get them to be quiet. I'll do my best to edit out any noise or guest appearances. I have a 10-year-old neighbor who loves to give me life hacks, and the other day she told me, "Miss Lily, here's a life hack, don't have so many kids." I love each and every one of my children. I wouldn't trade them for the world, but they are making this tutorial a little more complicated. But since you're going to be making these face shields at home, you probably have some kids running around too. And again, for the purposes of this tutorial, consider me just a mom with an idea. This is not medical advice. This is not something I'm saying is definitely going to work or protect anybody. All I know is we need some way to shield the face, and I think this might be an okay idea. But again, it's a work in progress. I'd love your feedback. I'd love your thoughts. Really don't want to be sued. I don't have a lot of money anyway. I only work 1 day a week. So I'm telling you, you're making this at your own risk and you are wearing this at your own risk. I have no idea if it's going to work. It's just an idea. And I would love your collaboration for design improvement on it as well. Okay, just a couple more thoughts on this. One, I know this is a very long video, and the reason for that is because I really wanted to save you time on all the mistakes that I made, all the things that I figured out in doing this. We're not living in a time where you can just run out to the store anytime you want. You're probably going to have to order supplies online. So I want to help you out by showing you the difference between some of the materials so that you don't waste time or money the way I did in trying to figure out what works or what doesn't. The basic idea of this mask is a piece of vinyl, a piece of foam inside, and a headband. It doesn't seem like watching a 29-minute tutorial on how to do that would be worth your time, but it actually may save you a lot of time and money. So that's why I chose to show it to you in the detail level that I did. Another thing that's important, you want to clean all your surfaces before you start to work. Because of the kids, I had to work upstairs on the bedroom floor. In my mask video, I had a lot of people criticizing me for working on the floor, but wood is wood, you can clean it. So just make sure you clean your surfaces. Also, in the first COVID-19 video that I did, I said that we should all just act as if we already have coronavirus. So what that means is I think you should wear a mask while you're working. I did not do this in the video because it makes my voice very muffled, but wash your hands, clean your surfaces, wear a mask so you're not coughing and breathing on all your materials while you're working on stuff for other people. And finally, even though I really don't like the idea of homemade personal protective equipment, I have seen some really awesome ideas and some innovation here. A lot of people are making these on 3D printers, not this model. Now, making one on a 3D printer, from what I've heard, costs about $1 or $2. So the cost is pretty comparative, but it does take about an hour and a half to print each one. If you have a 3D printer, that's awesome, do it. But if you assembly line your work, especially if you go with the super clear vinyl where you don't have to do the binding on it, you could make your mask in a lot less time, and you may be more efficient than the 3D printers. But if you have a 3D printer, I would probably go that route. Let's get started. Step 1, choose your vinyl materials. Okay, so right now what we're going to talk about are potential materials for our vinyl portion of the face shield. So we do not want to be out and about going through stores and figuring things out. So these are the 4 options I came up with, and I want to go over them with you so that if you have access to order them or you might have some of this at home, you can go ahead and use it. This is a shower curtain I got at the Dollar Tree, and it is not a very good option. Let me show you why. If this is all you have available, this would have to be a single-use type of thing. You can see the material is really, really thin here. So this is a heavy-duty shower curtain liner. So comparing it to the dollar store one, the dollar store one looks basically like a plastic bag comparatively. This one is much thicker. This is kind of what I've used in my prototypes. Now, it's not the clearest. You can still see the grain in the wood, but there is a little bit of issue with glare. So when you're working with this, you have to make sure that you don't have any wrinkles at all in your shield, or else the healthcare worker who's wearing it will not be able to see. It is strong. I think it would last for multiple uses, and it's a pretty good option, especially when it's hard to get supplies right now. So these 2 are options for vinyl that I was able to get at Walmart. They had vinyl that was on the spools, but what they had in the one in my local store was very thin, and I thought it would be about the level, a little bit higher than the dollar store one. These seemed like they were good, thick vinyl. This one on the left is super clear. It's heavy duty. It's much thicker. And this one on the right is called Deluxe Clear, and it is a little bit thinner, but it's actually still pretty good. So there was a sample on the outside of it. You can see it's still very easy to see through it. It's not super thick, and the super clear one, you can tell, is much thicker. You can tell there's definitely a difference in thickness. This side's the blue side. This one was about $15, and this one was about $9. Step 2, cut your vinyl. Okay, so I don't really have a downloadable template or anything for you guys because this is so big, there's probably nobody who has a printer who could print something off that size. From left to right is 18.5 inches. From top to bottom is 16 inches. And across from the widest part, side to side, is 25.5 inches. These measurements do not have to be exactly like this, and this is not something standard. This is just something I'm kind of making up as I go. I kind of have a big head, so the 18.5 works well for me. This mask should definitely cover everybody's face. So if it's a little bigger, a little smaller, it's not that big of a deal as long as it's going to stay on people's heads. That's all we really need. I would suggest just taking a piece measuring out the first one, you kind of want this boat shape at the bottom so that it kind of rests comfortably against your shoulders and isn't sticking out on the sides. So I've laid out our shower curtain, and I'm going to put some of the ones that I've already done on there so you can get an idea of how you could lay out your cutting pattern. I only had 11 to put on there, but looking at this, you can see that we can easily get 12 shields out of a single shower curtain. This, you don't need anything special. I just am taking some regular scissors here. And one of the things that's most important about cutting is that you want to make sure you just kind of glide your scissor in a smooth line, because you don't want any rough edges, because that becomes a lot harder to work with when you move on to your next step where you're putting the electrical tape on. I just slide into my vinyl and smooth glide. Okay, so we have 12 shields made out of a single $6 shower curtain. So now we're going to try this again, but we're going to use our 9-foot deluxe clear vinyl covering. So I put the shower curtain on top of it. So the shower curtain is a little bit longer lengthwise. The shower curtain 72, this is 54, but widthwise the shower curtain 70 and this is 108. And looking here, you can tell the shower curtain definitely is a little more opaque. This vinyl is about the same level of thickness as the shower curtain. A single layer of shower curtain is a single layer of vinyl. The vinyl is a lot clearer. This was my blue level, which means it was $9. So for $9, you're actually getting more material and it's a better quality material. I think this would be the way to go. So as you can see, even though the dimensions are a little bit different, I'm still able to get 12 shields out of a single piece. So dollar for dollar, I think I'd go for the clear vinyl blue level if you had the choice. So now we're going to try the super clear. The other thing I decided to experiment with here is, since it comes so nicely folded in half, I'm going to just see if I can cut through 2 layers at once and cut down on my cutting time. It's definitely hard. All right, let me just try 1 layer then. So if you have really nice scissors, maybe you can do 2. I could not do 2 here. This is very thick and very nice and very clear. We're looking right through it now. Is that I wonder if it's thick enough that you wouldn't need to put a binding on the edge. So the reason that I have that black stuff around the edges is because these are going to be kind of beat up a bit when they're in use. You know, people are going to be wearing them. They're going to be intubating patients. Step 3, finish the edges of the vinyl. This is not necessary if you're using the super clear vinyl yellow package. Okay, so we're moving on to our next step. I have my iron preheating and we're going to put our binding around the edges. But what I want to do is show you something important just so you can see the difference between your quality. So what I did was I took each of these and I made a small cut in each one so you can kind of compare how strongly they're going to hold up and see the importance for the binding. This is the dollar store one. Like I said, I wouldn't even waste my time with this. If I make a small cut here, tears right apart, completely useless. This is the shower curtain, so I have the same 1-inch cut, and when I pull on it, I have to pull a lot harder, but it is very possible for me to tear, so we definitely need something binding around the shower curtain. This is my deluxe vinyl, same cut, and when I pull, I have to pull pretty hard, but I am able to tear it apart, so this one is still going to need some binding. Now this is the super clear, again same cut, and no matter how hard I'm pulling, I can't rip it. So this one does not need the binding. So if you have more money than time, I would definitely go for the super clear. Like I said, that's about $1.25 per mask. This is about 75 cents per mask, and I got this for $6, so it's about 50 cents per mask. But I'm gonna have to spend some time putting binding around my edges on both of these 2 options. And I need about 70 inches of electric tape for each one. Now electric tape is cheap, I can get that at the dollar store, but it does take a certain amount of time to put it on. Okay, so moving on to our binding phase, we need about 70 inches or almost 6 feet of electric tape. So lightly stretch it as you're pulling it out, just so you don't have it rolling back up on you. And then try to put the edge of your vinyl right in the middle. And I found it easier on the edges if I do the turn before I press over. So kind of a little fold right there. I'm just trying to get the edge of my vinyl as close to the middle of the tape as possible because I'm going to fold it over in half. Okay, so my iron is heating up. It's about a 1 to a 2, somewhere in there. Every iron's different, so you're going to have to figure out what works best for yours. But what I want to do is melt the edges on because I don't want to rely on the stickiness of the tape. These masks are probably going to have to be reused, and you don't want to have cleaning solutions and stuff like that getting in there and then degrading the quality of your tape and making it lose its stickiness. So what I'm going to do is take my iron, and I have to make sure I only put the tip of my iron or the side only on the tape. If you put it, if the iron touches the vinyl, it's going to melt it and it's going to become useless. If you melt your vinyl, it'll make little holes in there, and then our face shield is no longer a barrier. It's more like a screen where viral particles and droplets and all kinds of stuff can come through. So you want to stay only on the black part. You can play around with your heat settings and how long you hold it on there. I think if you get really good, you could go with a slightly higher heat setting and work a little quicker, but you don't want to go too high and melt yourself and then ruin one of your shields. On the corners, what I want to do is keep my face shield flat and bend the tape. And the reason for that is that I don't want my shield to wrinkle up. Anytime there's wrinkles in the shield, it affects your visibility and it gets a lot cloudier. There's a lot more glare. So the tape you can bend up as much as you want. The shield you want to try to keep flat and smooth. And I always try to put a little extra time on the corners, on anywhere where it's not just a straight stick, because anytime you have a little wrinkle in the tape like these, that's going to be a chance where it can start to get unsticky and pull off. So I want to make sure it's really kind of just barely melted on to my vinyl. Now what I'm going to do is turn it over and just iron on the opposite side as well. Step 4, cut your craft foam. So we're ready for our foam. This is regular project foam. I got it at Walmart. And this piece right here is a nice big long piece. It is 24 inches wide, 72 inches long, and 1 inch thick. I should be able to get about 216 pieces that are 8 by 1 by 1 out of here. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting it up now. All right, so I have my piece opened up, and I'm just going to start cutting lengthwise strips, and then I'm going to cut those strips into 3 pieces each. What this piece is going to do is go right here on the headband, and it's going to kind of make a little bit of comfort. It's also going to make it stick out a little bit so the shield is not right touching your face, and there's room for eyeglasses or goggles. Okay, so now we have our foam for the headbands ready to go. Step 5, attach the shield to a headband. And here are the headbands that I purchased. So these are the headbands that I chose. I got them at the dollar store. The reason I chose headbands was because there seems to be a shortage of elastic, and I thought these are kind of readily available. They come in packs of 3 and packs of 2 that I was able to find, so it's only 33 cents or 50 cents for the headband, so that kind of keeps our costs down, and they're already made and designed to be nice and stretchy and easy to fit the head. Now, I don't know if anybody's going to be excited about this unicorn and rainbow pattern other than maybe some of my pediatric colleagues, but I got as many plain ones as I could, and then when they were out of plain ones, I went for the patterns. So now we're going to start assembling our mask together. Okay, so just as an example, this is one of the headbands. It's white on the inside, unicorn on the outside. These headbands were designed to be worn like this, but what I'm going to do is redo it kind of the way a tennis player or a sports person would do as a sweatband. So worn across my head here, it's nice, it's comfortable, it's tight, it's going to keep it to my face. So now we're going to start our assembly. So now it's time to take these three elements, our foam, a headband, and one of our vinyl sheets, and we're going to put them together to make this. So you can see here on the inside I have the foam here stitched into the headband. The headband goes comfortably around my head. I've got the soft side of the headband towards my face, and the outside is plastic. And I've left about this much room here where there's no shield attached to the headband. That gives a little bit of stretchiness and comfortability to the shield. Now, one of the issues that I had when I was making my samples, and you can see here these tiny little dots, is that the thread wasn't catching from the top thread to the bottom thread. And I think that's because my needle was too big. Sewing machine needles come in different shapes and sizes. So I went ahead and traded out my sewing machine needles for 11s. So I just put an 11 in there, and we'll see if that gets me a smoother stitch. Because anytime you have a hole anywhere in your product, that's a place where a droplet or particle could get through, and that's the opposite of what we want. So the first step we're going to do here is just take our shield, and we're going to sew the headband to the top side of the shield. So I'm going to start very much in this corner. It doesn't exactly matter where you start on the headband because it's a loop. And I'm going to do a zigzag stitch because there is some stretch in this fabric. As I'm sewing, I'm stretching the band as I go. As I'm stretching, as I'm going, I want to leave about 4 inches here that's not going to be sewn to the headband. So now I have the top side of my headband stitched straight through the electrical tape over the top. Step 6. Insert your craft foam into the headband. Next, what I'm going to do is put my foam piece in the middle, in between the headband and the vinyl. Like I said, we can have slightly different widths of the foam, but what I want to do is kind of encompass this foam inside the headband here. So I'm going to stitch along both sides here, and I believe it's actually better when I've tried it both ways. I've had a little better luck doing a straight stitch along this. I don't know how you're going to do, but I'm going to start on one side. I just want to make sure it's centered. So I have it going about right here, yep. And I'm going to start by sewing my down stitch here with a straight stitch. So I'm at the end of my foam, just going to seal that in there. Step 7. Completely sew the headband to the shield. I'm just going to finish the rest of my length of my headband to the shield. And we're just going to finish off the edge going through the electrical tape portion as well. So we got that side, so we just need to finish off this side. Okay, so now we have a mask. I've debated with myself about the zigzag stitch versus the straight stitch. I know the bottom, you definitely need a straight stitch. For the top, Some of the ones I've done, the zigzag works better. Some of them it seems like the straight stitch works better. Again, we're sewing through electric tape, which has a little bit of gummy stuff, which can get on your needle and cause your thread to bunch up and stuff like that. So it's hard to know what's the right answer. I'd love more people to work on this and let me know what you think. Now this is an example of the heavy duty super clear material that I used. There's a very slight break in the edge. You definitely want to make sure every little bit is as smooth as can possibly be. If you have really smooth edges, I've been trying with a sample piece and there's no way to tear it. I've been pulling it as hard as I can and it just doesn't tear. So I don't think I need to finish the edges on this, and I just want to check this and see how well it sews. Oh, that just broke my needle. So I guess maybe going for the skinniest needle wasn't the best idea with this one. That was using an 11 needle and it just snapped the bottom of my 11 needle right off. So I guess I need to have a stronger needle for this heavy duty vinyl. There we go. Here's our mask. Step 8, learn from my mistakes. These are all the things that I tried that really didn't work, and I don't want you to go down the same wrong path that I did. I'd also like to just take a minute and talk about some ideas that I had that maybe went wrong or weren't that easy. So one idea, instead of doing the electrical tape, I decided to do a double rolled hem and then iron all the way around it. It works. It's very time consuming. It took me about 3 times as long to fold it and iron it because it kept trying to unfold. So it's something you could do if you don't have electric tape and you have a little more time on your hands. You'd put the rolled edge towards the mask wearer or the shield wearer, and then you would have a smooth edge on the outside, which is kind of nice. But that's one other option there. Another idea I had that was a total fail was trying to glue the headband to the shield. That did not work at all. I tried 2 different kinds of super glue or very strong adhesive. I stretched my headband around a container so it was fully stretched out and tried to glue. And basically it got very hot, very stinky, and it didn't stick. So I don't know if you have another glue idea because it is hard to sew fabric to plastic. So if you have an idea about something that might work better, that would be great, but this was a big stinky fail. Another idea I had for these, which I wouldn't call a total fail, was to actually just sew regular bias tape on this. So this is a cotton material that I have sewn around the edges of this. It worked beautifully. The sewing was very easy on it. But if these have to get reused, what I'm thinking they're going to have to do is put some sort of cleaning solution on it, dry it, and then reuse it. If you're doing that and you have cotton mixed with your vinyl, I think this cotton material could kind of serve as a foamite and actually hold some wetness and hold some germs in it. And you probably don't want to be putting it back on your face when there's some wet cotton that could have potential droplets in it. So I like how this looks, I like how it feels, but I think it's a bad idea for infection control. One more mistake I wanted to show you was that I had the idea of seeing if I could sew the bottom and then stuff the foam in. That was a terrible idea. I just want to show you what happened there. So, thought I was getting the foam in the middle, and instead it's off to one side. Not so comfortable. I mean, I would still wear this in a crisis, but it's much better if you put the foam in and then fold over and sew as you go. Don't try to stuff the foam in after you've made your little tunnel. Now what I tried to do here was break down the per shield cost for you so you can decide which one you're going to go with. I do think if I had the choice, I would do the super clear vinyl because even though it's $1.25 for the vinyl, you save about 10 minutes and not having to put that binding on, and I think it's a better quality product. If I were in the front lines right now, that's what I would want to wear. The headbands,
were a great deal at the dollar store. I did check them out at Walmart, and they range from $1 to $2 per headband there, so I would definitely try to get them from the dollar store if you can. And then the craft foam I was able to get at Walmart, and that was very cheap. The cost is only pennies. So if you go for the super clear vinyl, you're going to be at about $1.83 per mask. The deluxe clear is about $1.38, and the shower curtain, if you can get it for $6 like I did, then that would be $1.13. Again, that's an unusual deal, so I would expect the shower curtains would probably cost about the same as the deluxe clear, and if you had the choice between the two, I would go for the deluxe clear.
Okay, so here are some of our options. This is the heavy duty super clear. If I had to go to work today and I had to choose one of these, I would definitely choose this one. There's a couple reasons for that. One, it's very clear. I can see absolutely everything. Way better than the shower curtain one. So it's very clear. Also, I don't have to worry about anything with the edges because the edges are so smooth. They're thick. I don't feel like this is going to fall apart. So if you have a choice in materials, I would definitely choose the super clear. Also, it's going to take me a lot less time to make this one because I don't have to spend all that time ironing the tape on this one. This is the standard shower curtain one. It's fine. I still feel like I would rather have this than nothing because I feel like my face is going to be protected from droplets. It's comfortable. It's easy to wear. I will have to be a little more careful when cleaning the edges and make sure that nothing gets in there. But this is a very good cost-efficient option. A little more time to make, but I would feel pretty good wearing that. So I hope this tutorial has been helpful. If I've learned anything in doing this, it's that there's always somebody who has a better idea. So please subscribe to my channel because if there's any updates, I definitely want to make a new video, update you guys, and that way you'll get a notification. Also, read the comments because on my mask videos, I had so many helpful comments, so many good ideas. Not all of them were great ideas, but people were sharing their ideas, collaborating. It's a great place to get resources. There might be ideas about where to get supplies, things like that. So check out the comments. Make a comment, let me know what you think, let me know if you have any way to improve this idea, and then subscribe so that if I come up with anything better, you'll get a notification. This is Dr. Lily with My Pocket Pediatrician. Thanks for stopping by.